The previous weekend is one to remember for Red Bull, picking up 58 of the possible 59 points in front of the home crowd of title competitors Ferrari, who were able to pick up only 20 points due to drivers' errors and a bit of misfortune. Red Bull's reigning champion Max Verstappen was able to bring home a grand slam at the Imola Grand Prix, setting a new F1 record by taking home a whopping 34 points, something that has never been done before. So how did this all happen after Ferrari looked dominant in the previous races? Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be talking about the upgrade that made Red Bull unstoppable at the 2022 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Let's dive right into it. Despite only having one practice session in which to examine them before the sprint, Imola featured the first true wave of significant upgrades for many teams. It was a crucial element of the narrative in terms of the weekend's great Red Bull versus Ferrari theme, as Ferrari opted to postpone their upgrades while Red Bull continued with theirs. So what were the new upgrades that Red Bull introduced? One was aerodynamic, while the others were part of a weight loss regime aimed at losing 10 kilograms by the time of the Barcelona race in 2 races. This would put the Red Bull on par with Ferrari in terms of weight. At Imola, a 10 kilogram excess that had been projected for the first 3 races had been reduced by roughly 3 kilograms. The most significant cost saving comes from a new set of precisely built brake calipers. The addition of a winglet to the keel splitter of the Red Bull's floor front of the T-tray section was the most significant aerodynamic alteration. This section of the floor is critical for conditioning the airflow that enters the underbody tunnels, but the addition of this winglet also places additional downforce load directly on that section of floor. The car's center of aerodynamic pressure will move forward somewhat as a result of this. Christian Horner believed that the updates were a crucial part of the team's resounding 1-2 result, saying, "We took a bit of a risk coming into the weekend with a couple of small parts we introduced to the car, which is always tricky when you've only got one session. But both Max and Checo have driven brilliantly this weekend, and that 1-2 finish? All credit to the team for brilliant pit stops and strategy today. But also back in the factory in Milton Keynes, the hard effort and work and picking ourselves up after the disappointment of Australia to come back with a result like that. Max Verstappen wasn't sure if it was the updates or the general team performance in understanding and operating the car. Sometimes that could be worth more than updates. We'll see in the next few races. Indeed, but what a race this was for Verstappen. And to truly understand his dominance, we have to go back to the last lap of Q3. At that time, the track was becoming a lot drier, and we could finally see lap times getting quicker and quicker. This is where we could see the first bit of dominance from Verstappen, by putting in a clean lap. Leclerc, on the other hand, looked marginally quicker in the somewhat drier conditions, but a small lockup cost him the pole position. This weekend saw the first sprint race of the F1 season. Verstappen started the race on pole, but quickly lost position to Leclerc. Verstappen managed to stay close to Leclerc during the sprint, only to overtake him in the last stages of the sprint race, resulting in the fact that Verstappen took home 8 points and would start on pole again for the race on Sunday. This is where Max gained the first advantage, since it turned out to be quite a wet weekend, which resulted in an advantage for the cars starting on the odd-numbered side of the grid, pole position, 3rd place and 5th place and so on. The side of the track that gave them a huge grip advantage as it was a lot wetter on the other side. This meant Verstappen could immediately create a gap at the start of the race. And this even allowed his teammate Perez, starting in 3rd, to immediately pass Leclerc at the start as well, giving Red Bull a 1-2 in the first lap of the race. After this, Red Bull and Max Verstappen played their cars perfectly. The new upgrades and the weather conditions seemed to be perfect for Red Bull. The team made the right strategy decisions, and Max kept his cool during the race, resulting in a grand slam and the biggest ever result in F1 with 34 points gained in one weekend. He even lapped his 2021 rival Lewis Hamilton in lap 41. That's dominance. What do you think about the Red Bull upgrades? Did they make a real difference in a rainy weekend? Let us know in the comments below. We'll pin the most liked one. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel to never miss out on our content. Let's talk about Verstappen's teammate Perez. Sergio Perez has got to be one of, if not the best number 2 driver Red Bull have had in a while. Some might even say he could bring the fight to Verstappen this year. But one thing is definitely true, and that is that he is F1's Minister of Defense. He's shown it to us all a couple of times already, with his most famous defense being the defense in the last race of the previous season. And last weekend in Imola, Perez was sure to remind us again why he gained the nickname. As said before in the video, Perez took the number 2 spot in the race for Leclerc right at the start. After which, Leclerc tried numerous times to pass Perez, which just didn't work out, resulting in Leclerc making a mistake in lap 53 which cost him the podium. So what about that mistake from Leclerc? And where did it all go wrong for Ferrari in Imola in front of their home fans? Ferrari didn't have the best of weekends, only scoring 20 points, which meant Red Bull was able to catch up quite a bit with their 58-point haul. It was a difficult weekend for the drivers in red. Let's dive in and see what went wrong for the Scuderia. For starters, Ferrari opted to postpone their upgrades they'd initially planned for Imola. In 2022, teams will need to strike a delicate balance between releasing new modifications and gaining a greater understanding of the current car. First and foremost, these brand new cars that the engineers must learn to manage, and money must be spent more wisely due to the budget constraint. You can't keep bringing new upgrades. Ferrari is keeping a low profile on this. The F175 has proven competitive on every circuit thus far, but the Italians are not in a hurry. Before providing changes to the races, the crew seeks to fully comprehend this car. In a document released by the FIA ahead of the Imola Grand Prix, it was clear to see how different this strategy is from the rest of the field. Not bringing upgrades turned out to cost them quite a bit of points as a team. But the withholding of upgrade of the F175 wasn't the only component to Ferrari's miserable weekend in Italy. Both Leclerc and Sainz had quite some errors and misfortunes during the weekend, with Sainz ending his qualifying in the wall, which meant he had to start the sprint race from P10. Although he did recover to P4 during the sprint, he didn't have the best of starts. Because he had to start on the wetter areas of the track, he directly lost his position to Norris starting in P5. After this, he went into turn 2 in a wheel-to-wheel position with Norris's teammate Ricciardo, resulting in them touching each other and Sainz ending the race in the gravel again. Just like the previous race in Australia, this meant 0 points for the Spaniard in front of the team's home crowd. But Sainz wasn't the only one making mistakes over the weekend. His teammate and title contender Leclerc had his fair share of mistakes as well. So Charles could have been content with a respectable haul of points and a solid third-place finish, but his strong will wouldn't let him. And he desired to attain a P2, despite the fact that this may not have been the ideal option when considering the championship as a whole. He went on to say, "I believe this spin shouldn't have happened today, and that P3 was the best that I could do. We didn't have the pace for much more, and I was too greedy, and I paid the price for it. I lost 7 potential championship points compared to the 3rd place I was before." To be fair, this was Charles' first major blunder of the season. However, he is correct in that if he considers the entire season, it is these errors that may determine whether he wins the championship. What do you think about the mistakes Ferrari and the drivers made? Should they have opted to upgrade the car before the race in Imola? Let us know in the comments below. And whilst you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of our content. Let's carry on. So what does this mean for the championship race? Well, as of right now, Leclerc is still leading the charts with 86 points. But Verstappen managed to jump from 6th to 2nd with his massive 34-point haul. He now has 59 points and is only 27 away from the championship leader with still 19 races to go. The Constructors' Championship table also saw some changes. With Red Bull grossing in 58 points, they managed to secure the 2nd position. Ferrari still leads the table with 124 points. But the 20 points this weekend meant that Red Bull could make up a big portion of their deficit before the weekend. They now have 113 points and look within striking distance of the 1st spot. It was a weekend for Ferrari to forget, and a weekend for Red Bull to remember. They managed to take home a 1-2 finish for the first time since Malaysia back in 2016. They even did it on Ferrari's home turf. This meant that Red Bull and both their drivers were able to close the gaps in both championships, meaning that all is left to play for this season. That's all for today's video. Make sure to let us know in the comments what your thoughts are about the 2022 F1 season. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to support us. We'll see you in the next one.